Good evening and welcome to this edition of Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Let's get straight to it. India reported 3,26,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours, 3,890 deaths. The Union Health Ministry has said that there are 11 states in the country right now with over 1 lakh active COVID cases and 8 others with between 50,000 and 1 lakh active COVID cases. Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul has said 10 states account for 85% of the total COVID cases in the country. The worst affected states include Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal, among others. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi today chaired a meeting about the COVID situation in the country. He has said that there are reports of ventilators lying unutilized in some states and directed an immediate audit of the installation and operations of ventilators provided by the central government to be carried out. The Prime Minister also stressed on the need for localized containment strategies for areas with high positivity rates. He urged that state governments report the numbers transparently. He said, and I quote, states should be encouraged to report their numbers transparently without any pressure of high numbers showing adversely on their efforts. He has asked for an augmentation of healthcare resources in rural areas to focus on door-to-door testing and surveillance. A plea has been filed in the Supreme Court by Advocate Viplav Sharma, seeking that the Supreme Court direct the PM CARES Fund to immediately fund the procurement of COVID vaccines, oxygen plants, generators and their installation in 738 district hospitals which are easily accessible at no cost to common people. The petitioner has also asked the court to consider increasing the cap of the 3-month exemption period granted on import duty for medical equipment relating to oxygen generation. The plea has asked for a preparation of a national plan in consultation with chief secretaries of state governments and ministries to combat COVID cases. The petitioner has asked the court to direct the Union Secretary and all chief secretaries of states to direct MPs and MLAs to spend their funds. Remember, every MP and MLA is given a certain amount of funds to spend every year in their constituency. Has asked that they be directed to spend their funds in a disciplined manner with full transparency so as to serve the community they represent. The petitioner has urged the court to issue directions to the states to ensure all private and charitable hospitals have actually procured, installed and commissioned the medical plant and equipment essential backups and have become self-sufficient for oxygen. The National Human Rights Commission has recommended that the government should enact a special legislation to uphold the dignity of people and protect the rights of the dead. Now, asserting that Article 21 of the Constitution extends not only to living people but also to the dead, the Commission for Human Rights have said it's the duty of the state to protect the rights of the deceased and prevent crimes over dead bodies. The key takeaways from the recommendations are the use of electric crematoriums to be encouraged to avoid health hazards emerging from the emission of smoke from burning pyres. Piling up of bodies during transportation should not be allowed. Mass burial or cremation should not be allowed because it's in violation of the right to dignity of the dead. Cremation or burial ground staff must be sensitized about proper handling of bodies, and staff members should be provided with necessary safety equipment and facilities so they can perform their duty without any fear of risk. Mucormycosis or black fungus has now been categorized as a notified disease in the state of Haryana, making it compulsory for government authorities to be notified and informed about every single case. Now, doctors will have to report to the chief medical officer of the district if any black fungus cases are detected in their hospitals. This will also allow the tracking and management of any outbreak. This comes after 40 cases of mucormycosis or black fungus have been detected in Haryana. Following several cases of bodies floating in the Ganga and the Yamuna River near Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, the National Human Rights Commission has issued notices to the Union Jal Shakti Ministry and the governments of both states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The Rights Commission has said that public authorities have failed to take action and efforts in educating the masses and checking the immersion of half-burnt or unburnt bodies in the Ganga. In its statement, it said the practice of disposal of bodies in our sacred river Ganga is clearly in violation of the guidelines of the National Mission for the Clean Ganga project as part of the Ministry of Jal Shakti. End quote. In a bid to stop people from disposing bodies in the river, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, has ordered patrolling by the State Disaster Response Force and the Provincial Armed Constabulary to make sure it doesn't happen. Mr. Adityanath has said that those who die deserve cremation with respect. The state government is already sanctioning funds to perform last rites. No one should be allowed to dispose of bodies in the river due to religious traditions. Rivers will get polluted due to bodies of human beings and animals in them. The government is also running a special campaign of cleaning of rivers. Home, urban and rural development departments should make a policy to prevent it, end quote. Goa has witnessed a surge in COVID cases and people now queuing up to perform last rites at crematoriums. One of the oldest crematoriums in Goa, located in Margao city, had to construct 4 additional platforms and dedicate 3 of its existing platforms to COVID deaths. Goa on Friday reported 2,455 new cases and 61 deaths. Delhi has announced that oxygen concentrator banks have been set up in every district of Delhi and COVID patients in home isolation can now opt for home delivery. Chief Minister Kejriwal has said if any patient in home isolation needs oxygen, our teams will be at their doorstep in 2 hours. One person aware of the technical know-how will be part of the team to help the patient and their families with how to use the concentrator, end quote. The state of Kerala has extended its lockdown until the 23rd of May. 4 places are under triple lockdown, which is Thiruvananthapuram, Ernakulam, Thrissur and Malappuram. The triple lockdown enforced in the area means no vehicles are allowed to ply at all. Residents will be allowed to exit their house only to buy essentials or in case of emergency. Meanwhile, the Himachal Pradesh government has extended its corona curfew until the 26th of May. The West Bengal government has announced the state will go under near lockdown for 2 weeks starting the 16th of May. Transport services, including the Kolkata Metro, will come to a halt. Only emergency services will be allowed, adding that groceries and shops selling essential items can stay open between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has also announced that Delhi, the state government, will bear the cost of educating and raising children who have been orphaned because their parents passed away due to COVID. In a statement, Arvind Kejriwal said, and I quote, "I know many children have lost both parents. I want to tell them that I am still there. Do not consider yourself an orphan. The government will take care of your studies and upbringing." He also said elderly citizens who've lost their children, whom they were dependent on for income, the government will help such families as well. Madhya Pradesh has also made a similar announcement. In other news, away from COVID right now, according to the Indian Meteorological Department, Cyclone Tauktae, which will be a very severe storm from the 16th of May to the 18th of May. It's very likely to move north and northwestward and cross the coast of Gujarat between Porbandar and Naila around the 18th of May in the afternoon or the evening. Kerala continued to witness very heavy rains and the vaccination drive in Mumbai will remain suspended on Saturday and Sunday due to the cyclone warning. At least 24 National Disaster Response Force teams have been deployed and 29 teams are on standby in Gujarat, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu for the cyclone. In an affidavit filed before the Delhi High Court, WhatsApp has said that its 2021 update, because of its privacy policy, is not mandatory. That WhatsApp is not forcing anyone to accept the newly introduced update, that users are free to leave the app. It also said that private companies like Google, Microsoft, Zoom and Zomato and public companies like Arogya Setu, Bheem, Air India, IRCTC are among others who have similar privacy policies. Last week, the Delhi High Court had issued notice to the central government and social media platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp, seeking their responses on a PIL challenging the new WhatsApp privacy policy. A plea has been filed before the Supreme Court asking the court to direct the government to cancel the 12th standard examinations for CBSE and ICSE. The direction has been asked to be sent to the central government, the CBSE board and the Council for Indian School Certificate Examinations. According to the petitioner, who says it cannot be legitimately expected that these respondents remain mute spectators over the current situation and not take a timely decision with respect to the examination, given that there are more than 12 lakh students right now hanging in the balance of these 12 standard examinations. News coming in from across the world right now. According to Reuters, the conflict between Israel and Palestine continues to intensify. A 12-story tower that housed the buildings of US-based Associated Press and Qatar-based Al Jazeera collapsed after it was targeted and struck by Israeli missiles. Meanwhile, at least 10 members of a Palestinian family, 2 women and 8 children, have been killed by an Israeli air raid on their home in the refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. According to the latest numbers from the government of Palestine, 137 Palestinians, including 36 children, have been killed. From Israel, there is a report of 9 deaths as well. According to UN approximations, 10,000 Palestinians have left their homes to take refuge in UN shelters. Despite international calls of immediate halt of hostilities, both sides are still firing rockets at each other. In Nepal, KP Oli has been sworn in as Nepal's Prime Minister for the 3rd time, and this comes after Oli lost a crucial vote of confidence on the parliament floor. He's been appointed Prime Minister by the President, Bidya Devi Bhandari, as opposition parties failed to secure majority seats and form a new government either. The WHO has urged wealthy countries to reconsider their plans to vaccinate children and instead donate their extra COVID-19 shots to the COVAX scheme, which will give it to poorer countries. The WHO is hoping more countries follow the example of France and Sweden in donating shots after inoculating their priority populations. Canada and United States are among the countries who have now authorized vaccine use for adolescents in recent weeks. The WHO Director General criticized wealthy nations and called it a moral catastrophe. News from the world of science right now. Russia plans to send an actor and a director into space with an aim to make the first feature film that will be shot in space. The actor and director will be sent to the International Space Station in October this year. The space race between the US and Russia continues because the US had also announced a plan to send Tom Cruise and director Doug Liman to space to shoot a movie. News from the world of sports right now. The Olympics are coming under a cloud. Hiroshi Mikitani, the CEO of Japan's e-commerce giant Rakuten, has warned that holding the Tokyo Olympics at this point this year would be a suicide mission, he said. He said it's dangerous to hold such a big event with participants from all over the world. On Friday, Japan extended its coronavirus state of emergency as the nation now is battling its 4th wave of the virus infections. Now, in just about 10 weeks, the games will open on the 23rd of July. Public opinion remains opposed. Most people favor another delay or cancellation altogether. However, the Prime Minister of Japan told reporters on Friday that it is possible, in his opinion, to hold safe and secure games, and we want to firmly go ahead with preparations, end quote. And one piece of positive news before we leave you for the weekend. A doctor couple in Mumbai have begun an initiative where they're collecting unused medication from COVID patients who've already recovered. Dr. Marcus Rani and his wife, Dr. Reina, have started Meds for More on the 1st of May. They're now distributing the medication to people who cannot afford it. In just 10 days, they've collected over 20 kgs of medication, which will now be donated to primary healthcare centers in rural districts across the country. We're going to leave it there, of course. Do stay home and stay safe. Leave us suggestions on any way in which we can improve our broadcast and our service to you. If there's anything you want longer explanations on, leave us a note as well. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for watching.